Welcome everyone, and welcome back to Forward Operating Base. I am Greg Hill, and I am your host of your fishing show today, your FISHREP for the ending of March 7th. I'll go over the fishing week, and I'll go what I kind of think on what's going to be happening for the next week. Look, I'm out here on Lake Fork right now. The wind's blowing pretty hard, and I'm shooting this 2 days past or 3 days past the 7th, so it's the 10th day when I'm shooting this, but I'm just including the information to the 7th. The wind's blowing right now. We have 15, 16 knots. Yesterday we had a bunch of wind that blew yesterday, but I'm going to go back for the fishing week and kind of get into it. So all I can really say for that week is it was a hard week fishing. It was either hot or it was cold. Monday, catching fish. Tuesday, half day with clients, zero. It's been a long time since I've had a zero, and it was really tough. And we fished a bunch of different places and a bunch of different kind of things, and just never, I don't even know we even got a bite now, just looking back at it. It was just a rough day fishing, and fished in the same areas I've been fishing. We went to a couple places where I know big fish are, and I could see them on my electronics. And it was super frustrating because we basically had 3 big fish at the first spot that, a week earlier I could catch one there, and now with this weather that kind of moved in there, it would follow the bait but not hit it. It followed a Senko that I'd been swimming. It followed a jerkbait, weighted jerkbait that I could get down and just work it right at that depth. It followed a crankbait that ran in the 9-foot range, and basically just I could work it real slow. Matter of fact, this is the same place that I caught like a 8.4 and a 9.6 on the same day, just before the freeze. So I know they're there, and they were there again. We just couldn't get them to bite, couldn't get them to commit. Wednesday we went out, kind of same places, moved around and kind of scouted some other places, and voted 1 fish on Wednesday, so I don't count it as a success. Go to Thursday, weather changes, go to some of the same areas, caught 13 fish. Like, the fish just turned on. It was great fishing. Matter of fact, I had one of the big fish. It was like 4 pounds. It was just over 4 pounds, but it had a picture of a huge gizzard shad that I put on my Instagram. This gizzard shad tail just coming out of the fish's gullet. So what a great fish. It was but that was like 13 fish, maybe 15. I think maybe I lost count by 2 fish, but the fish were hitting in these 2 coves that I was in, and I was really looking forward to Wednesday. And then go out Wednesday, had an afternoon Wednesday, and basically we caught 3 fish. Nothing really big, but we did get some bass in the boat. But that was in the same exact place. But you remember, on that day, the Friday, all of a sudden all that wind came in, all the rain came in. It rained that morning, and unfortunately my clients were, they weren't really prepared for the cold weather. They didn't have the right gear. They really didn't have a raincoat. And then it started raining on them. So it was, it's not bad to be, I should say, back in the entry, it's not terrible to be cold, and it's not terrible to be wet. But when you're wet and cold at the same time, that's pretty miserable. So we were kind of lucky because of my property here on the lake. I actually just ran them back over to my place. We kind of sat out the rain, let them dry their clothes off, and then we took a little break and went out on the lake when they had dry clothes, and they were much better. They were much more happy after their clothes were dry than while they were real wet. It was a pretty miserable run to get back over to my place. And and basically in 50 mile an hour wind, because I'm driving, and just being wet from all the rain. So that was pretty miserable. But they were troopers, and they stuck in there, and they really tried hard all day long. And we finally did catch a couple fish, but there wasn't anything the big size. So the biggest fish that we had all week was right around 4 pounds. On Saturday, we went out the same kind of places, and we had a fish on the second cast of the day. Thought, okay, we're on it for the day, and that was pretty much it for the day. My client got broke off by a huge fish, though. We had throwing crankbaits in the deeper water than those troughs, like the creeks and the basically little guts that run up, through these spawning areas. I was having my clients throw those deep and kind of just bring them back to that deeper area, not fishing the grass on the bank and not fishing that. And my client just got hammered by a fish. He just got hit so hard. The fish snapped the line. Hit it so hard. I got it back, and there was 2 braid spots that were about like an inch or 2. There were 2 of them, 1 inch and then 2 inches up, 3 inches up from where the line, the knot had been, and you could just feel it. And I told him, I don't know, could have been a big catfish, it wasn't a gar because it was not a clean break. It was just had been braided right there at the end. And this I had just finished tying this knot before that, so it wasn't that the line was frayed previous to that. I mean, it just got hit, and he said that he felt a tug, and the rod just tugged real hard, and it basically just, you know, broke. He hit it so hard. So, you know, I explained to him this time of the year, sometimes these big females were out there, and, you know, the bait we were using was looking like a big gizzard shad. You know, if they hit this gizzard shad at a 90-degree angle, you know, your bait's coming this way, and the fish hits it real hard sideways, you know, they really deliver a blow to the rod, and I don't. There was anything I could do that except for maybe it had heavier line. It was on a crankbait rod, and there's 14-pound line on there. But still, that kind of line should have worked okay for even a fish, unless it was just, you know, I mean, I don't know what it was, but it sounded like a really big fish. It kind of plowed into it and took advantage of it. It's got that big mouth, and it actually has a lot of teeth in there. People don't realize that the bigger bass, you know, if you ever lip one of those big bass and you kind of hold it around, you'll know your whole hand gets cut up. Well, that kind of abrasion happens instantaneous to your line also when you catch that big fish. So, you know, we could have had it on some heavier line, but, you know, throwing it on a crankbait rod and trying to get it down those depths, you know, you can't put too big a line on it, but that's just how it worked out. Okay, that was kind of a rundown for the fishing for the week. You know, Sunday I went out by myself, and I went scouting around I went way up to the north part of the lake. I went from the very north part of the lake, which I hadn't been way up there in a while, to all the way down to the south part of the lake. I went and checked out some of the places where historically the fish tend to spawn earlier. And what I did find, and I found this on Saturday too with the clients, so, you know, look, your electronics, and I talk about having the Garmin LiveScope system that I have. So I started doing this last year, and it's something that you can do. It takes a little practice, and it takes some recognition to do it. But there are ways for you to be able to see and fish for bedding fish that are not visible with the naked eye. And we found one place that was like that. Some people had a dock, and there were some stumps and some brush they put out there. This is an area it historically warms up very early. And, you know, I got to there, and sure enough, there was two fish sitting in the same place, circling around each other. You could tell one was much larger than the other. The one that was very large was a very large fish. We tried to get it, and matter of fact, what really finally convinced me that they were bedding fish is twice on that day, that was Saturday, we put lures into what I thought were beds. The fish would pick it or move it, and, you know, it happened to me, and then it happened to the client where, you know, I went to go to set the hook when I saw the line moving, and basically I was using a wacky rig system that was not embedded in the bait itself. It was on the little oval ring that you have, and the bait came off. You know, the fish was holding on probably to the bait, and when I jerked it, just pulled the bait right out of pulled the hook right out of that bait, and it never got it. And that's the same thing that happened to my client. So I'm pretty sure there are some fish on beds, but they're not in places where I couldn't find any that I could see from the bank, like fishing visually, you know, like looking out and I see the fish on the bed. I've seen a couple places where I'm pretty convinced that I'm seeing fish on bed in a little deeper water. And these were in 3.5 feet of water-ish, and it was an area where it was kind of, it was murkier water, not muddy, but murkier. The visibility is like 1.5 feet, so you could not see the fish, but that's definitely enough visibility, you know, for basically the fish to be able to spawn. And that water was well in the temperatures, you know, it's like right at 60 degrees for it to be able to spawn there. So I think it's already happening in some places. So I went looking around, and I only found it in 2 places. So I'm hoping this next week we've had some warmer night temperatures, and then allow the fish to basically start to feel more comfortable, get up on bed, and there's even more of them. So I think there are fish on beds. I'm not seeing them, like I said, with my naked eye. I'm seeing it with my electronics, and I've only seen it in 2 places. So that was kind of the fishing for the week. You know, Sunday I caught fish, but I fished. I'm not even going to show all the lures I fished with this last week. It was all over. I mean, because we weren't catching, I was changing lures a lot. I mean, we fished with crankbaits. We fished with bladed jigs. I fished weighted Senkos. I fished floating Senkos. You know, the one good bite we had on Saturday was basically taking a spinning rod, you know, and have a semi-weighted Senko and throw it and skip it up on the dock. Like I said, second cast, we hit a fish, and I was like, okay, this is going to be great. This is going to be our pattern for the day, because I've done it before. And I basically just keep doing it, but it just didn't work out. We had some fish on our docks, but we couldn't get to them. We couldn't get the casts into them, or they'd spook off after a while, and we just couldn't get it together on some of those casts. We'd see the fish there at first, but they were pretty spooky, and they'd move off with a couple of the baits coming down there when we were doing that. So all I can say is that if I had to pick some colors that were working this last week, the color of the water in many areas, because the wind and the rain had gotten a little muddier, some visibility had gone down. So I was throwing some very bright red crankbaits that were really deeper diving baits. This is in 4 feet of water getting a bite, but I'm throwing a crankbait that's supposed to dive down to about 10 to 12 feet. And I'm getting that crankbait to dig down on the bottom. Same thing with that crankbait. It was a kind of gizzard shad crankbait that my customer got broke off on. That was a bait designed to dive down to 9 feet, and we were in the 6 foot range. So, and I had got him to basically hold his rod tip down, get that bait going down, digging it in, and have it dig in the bottom, leaving a kind of silt trail back behind it, like you see these gizzard shad where they're cutting through the shallows sometimes. And I think that's what happened. I think it allows the fish to kind of follow that. You've seen it dig in the bottom, and it comes in and be able to hit it. Now that was in some fairly clear water where we were doing that. That's why I was using a more natural golden shad color. The Senko colors I was throwing, I threw a couple different colors. The greens, the whites with some pumpkin seed on them. The big pumpkin seed one the big pumpkin seed one I've been throwing the earlier week. I didn't get a big bite on it this last week, so I don't know what changed, but they just didn't want to take it. They would come up to it and just swim off from it. They'd get inches from it and kind of follow it as you were twitching it, and you twitch it and you twitch it, and they would just keep moving with it. And after they moved, from whatever tree they were on or kind of a stump they were on, if they followed for 10, 15, even 20 feet sometimes, then they would just turn around and go back over and slowly work their way back over to the stump, or they'd work their way back over to another tree. I only saw all week long I saw a couple surface hits. When I was way up in the north part of the lake, I will say that there was a lot of surface hitting going on, but it wasn't like they were slamming the baits on. They were obviously chasing some gizzard shad in this muddier water that was up there, and they were just chasing around. It would boil every once in a while, but making pretty good splash. I think there were some pretty big fish up there. I didn't get one of them, but they were in there. I threw lipless crankbaits through there to try to do it, but the water was just muddy as can be. The visibility was like 4 inches, and I think you just got to get that bait right in front of it. And if you're trying to throw a moving bait through 4 inches of water, that's pretty tough. Now, even through spinner baits that with the big thumping blades to kind of go through there, but I still didn't get any bites on it. So overall, it was a really tough week. I think people that came out here, again, Monday was good, Tuesday, Wednesday were hard, Thursday was good, Friday was average. Friday could have been average, I think, if we could have stayed on the water a little bit longer, because I think the fish, even though it was raining and cold, we were still in kind of in a biting mood there. And then Saturday was tough again. Besides the one big break off, I thought we had a pattern going on those docks, but it just didn't pan out. So anyway, so what do I think for this next week? I think the weather's coming up. We have a little wind, we got a little cloudiness, but the night temperatures are staying warmer now. So you're going to see this water temperature slowly keep increasing. Yesterday, fish were being caught on the shallows. We're throwing I'm not going to talk because I talk next week, but yesterday, we caught some fish on jerk baits and caught some fish on a crankbait. And see what else we catch a fish on. There's only 3 of them. And that's it. It was the jerk bait turned out to be the jerk bait turned out to be the good bite. So, but anyway, I hope that this next week is going to be better. I got a day off here. I'm taking a day off here to go take care of some business, and then I'll be back out on the water on Friday, taking some marines, fishing on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm always excited to take a bunch of jarheads, fishing, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But in all, it was a tough week, and there's just no way of getting around it because it was either hot or cold. And if you do, one day go to the same place, you see the fish, you just can't get them to bite. It just makes it hard. And you got to just keep plugging away. The only advice I can give when it happens to you, if you're out fishing that happens, is don't let your concentration wane. Take every single cast on Lake Fork can be a big fish. You don't want to get surprised. You don't want to have, something happen and you miss that one big fish. My client, after he got broke up with that big fish, he turned around and he looked at me and said, Greg, I've never had anything like that happen before. I don't think I've ever had a fish hit a lure so hard in my life. And I said, yeah, that happens here, because basically he said he hit it, he gave one big pull, it tug and boink, it went off. And like I said, that line about an inch up from where the knot had been, I'm guessing would have not been, because the clean break at the end, it was all frayed, and then like another 2 inches up, it was frayed there. So, and it was pretty frayed, and that I had just tied it probably an hour before that. So I mean, it was completely fresh line. So, hey, so a couple of just administrative notes. I'd like to say again, hey, I'm fishing here on my Skeeter FXR 21 this year. Man, it's just been a great fishing machine. If you're ever out here in the Yantis area, or you need work done to your boat, I'd like to give a shout out for Diamond Sports Marines in Yantis. They just do a great job taking care of my boat. They're a great dealer if you're looking for a boat, and they're just great people. So if you get a chance to be out there and you need some help, you need to pick something up, you need some work done in your boat, or you're looking for a new boat, call them at Diamond Sports Marine. You can call Dax or call Fred and tell them Greg referred you. And I mean, they're not going to probably give any discount, but they're probably just going to say thank you, for doing that. But I just like them to know that I'm thankful for what they have done for me, and I'm thankful for the support they've given me as I got started guide fishing here on Lake Fork. Because I had talked to Fred over there, and over about 2 years, even before this whole process started, to tell him this is what I wanted to start doing. And he was very helpful and very patient with me. A lot of questions asked to work on stuff. So thank you very much. I want to give a thank out to again my sponsors, Quantum and Temple Fork Outfitters. My equipment is just going strong. It's working great, and I just can't. I really love it. And I had my customers were here this last week. One of them had bought a Quantum reel at my recommendation, and he just loved it, and he just loves the reel. So they're awesome. And I've had some people tell me they're going to get Temple Fork rods, but they didn't get them at that point because there was a shortage of the ones that they wanted. Like everybody else, people are out of stock on stuff, but you can go to the websites and check on them. But what a great warranty! I've had a great service with sponsors to them. If you can call them, answer their phone. It was a human being, talking to them, and just like Quantum's the same way. So, hey, you know what? I guess that's it for Lake Fork right now. I wish I could tell you it was a great week fishing. I think the guys that were out here, and the other people who were out fishing, they were telling you what a kind of off and on days they were during the week. And then there were some periods, like I said, just one last thing. I have one friend who were fishing one spot, and we were there, and then basically right before it started to get dark, it just turned on, and they caught a number of good fish just in this very short period of time. And I knew the fish had been there, they just weren't biting. And then all of a sudden you get to that right time period, and all of a sudden they decided to turn it on, and they caught some great fish. So anyway, good job for those guys. And I'm always happy to hear somebody catching fish like 8-9 pounders. It's awesome. I think this lake is just a powerhouse for fishing, and I just look forward to taking people fishing. So if you're looking for a fishing guide, for out here Lake Fork, I've got days open. I've got maybe 5 or 6 days left over here in March still. I've got days left over in April, so please give me a call. You can contact me on my website, www.FOBLakeFork.com. So that's FOBLakeFork.com. Of course, this is my forward operating base, Lake Fork. You military guys get it. Go to my Instagram, go to my Facebook, forward operating base Lake Fork, and you can send me a message or look at my social media. It's pretty easy to find me on the social media pieces now. But look, that's it for today. I look forward to my next report. I'm hoping this next week is better. I think it's going to be better. I'm looking forward to it. And then, I'll report that next week as we come around. So from Lake Fork and from Forward Operating Base Lake Fork, I'm Greg Hill, and I hope you have a great day.